Good afternoon, my Real News Media TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update for Thursday, October 30, 2025. And in the news this afternoon, historic town reduced to near rubble by Melissa, up to 90% of buildings in St. Elizabeth without roofs. The vast majority of buildings in St. Elizabeth were left without roofs on Tuesday as the marauding Category 5 Hurricane Melissa moved through the parish, leaving historic capital Black River a shell of its former self. Prime Minister Andrew Holness provided the update on Wednesday following a flyover of sections of the parish earlier in the morning. I flew over the south coast of St. Elizabeth into Black River and from Treasure Beach to this point, and we could easily say between 80 to 90% of the roofs were destroyed and a significant number of buildings were damaged, said Holness. On the ground, the impact is even more palpable. We were standing in close proximity to the Black River Hospital, and that has been totally destroyed, along with several other buildings, including historic buildings, churches, courthouse, the parish council building, and older heritage buildings have been destroyed, added Holness. He noted that the entire electricity grid of Black River was wiped out by Melissa, while the telecommunication system was also severely impacted. We see our tower damaged. We are not certain if the other one is operable, so the entire infrastructure and everything needed for the convenience of modern living is destroyed here in Black River. The people are still coming to grips with the destruction, but from what I have seen and the interaction, the people here are strong, resilient, and positive enough in outlook, said Holness. According to the Prime Minister, the government intends to move the necessary emergency relief to the people of St. Elizabeth. The first effort in this regard is to clear the roadways to allow for vehicular traffic, not just to allow people to come in and visit relatives who they cannot get into contact with, but to bring in much-needed supplies, said Holness. It is going to be a massive task to rebuild the Black River, this historic town, but while it is destroyed, we can vision a future of it rising stronger and better, because the truth is that many of the buildings were not located properly in the first place. They were in vulnerable areas, and we will now take the opportunity to properly reorganize the town and to build back even stronger, declared Holness. Jamaicans try to reach family. Lacovia residents describe battle with Melissa. Isolated by the collapse of communication systems due to the passage of Hurricane Melissa, Jamaicans from across the island, some from far as Kingston, flocked to St. Elizabeth Wednesday in a desperate search for their families and loved ones, as well as to check on property. One man, an amputee, who identified himself as One Foot Carl, made the journey from Old Harbour, joining a slow-moving caravan of vehicles that stretched from Lacovia, St. Elizabeth, back to the outskirts of Santa Cruz in the parish. One of my friends asked me to accompany her to look for her father. "So I walk with me saw," he explained as he exited his vehicle with a power saw and a container of gasoline, prepared to clear the road and the blockades. Supported by his crutches, Carl expertly wielded the power saw to assist the Jamaica Defense Force soldiers in clearing roads. Another man, Jerome Stedman, who lives in eastern Westmoreland, made light of the situation, saying, "I do have a sister named Melissa. I never know saw the girl rude." He had made the trek from Kingston, undaunted by a flat tire. "We are here trying to get home, trying to see what happened with our places back home. I was in Kingston and I heard that everything is flat there, so I'm taking this journey to see what happened over there," he said. Stephen Wisdom was traveling with his infant son and the Stedman. "I'm going to look on my house because my friend called me to say it's gone. I'm going to see if I can take up 2 of my things," he explained. The caravan came to a screeching halt outside the Santa Cruz, where downed the trees and the power lines forced the soldiers and the volunteers to cut their way through, extending what would normally be a 15-minute drive to Lacovia to a 5-hour trip. In Lacovia, residents told the news of their battle with Hurricane Melissa to preserve life and property. One man said he rode out the hurricane wedged between a wall and a piece of roofing material. Further up the street, his neighbor braced his body weight against his front door to keep it from blowing off. Across from that home, another young man had to shelter in his car after the storm tossed his home to the side. All of them told the news that Hurricane Gilbert, which devastated Jamaica in 1988, was nothing compared to this experience. "This is where I sheltered for the whole of it," Mario White said, looking out from behind the single sheet of zinc that he said saved his life. The floor of his home was scattered with his belongings mixed with the remnants of his roof, all soaking wet. Leaned up against the back wall of the living room was the faithful piece of zinc. "The storm came and backed me up here. I started to go out and I had to turn back with my TV and medication. Everything started lift off, so this is where I stayed until the storm finished. Right under this piece of zinc here. About 3 hours," he said, demonstrating how he wedged himself between the wall and the corrugated roofing material. Omar Perry, who lives just meters away, had a similar battle. "I fight till a week. It took out 2 of the windows. I had to take my barrel of clothes and put it at the window. I stood up at the door for hours for it not to take off the door. Me say I fight till a week. I am tired, man," Perry said while sitting on the remnants of the roof of his home. Despite his fatigue, Perry was single-handedly trying to put the roof back on so he and his 12-year-old daughter and his partner could have shelter Wednesday night. He pointed to the flattened shop owned by his partner. "He took up the shop and carried the whole shop across the road and brought it back and come put it back on the light post. I said, no man, this is serious." For Perry's partner, Julian Dunkley, the storm was terrifying, but more so for their daughter. Dunkley said after emerging from the home Wednesday morning, she had to use the major landmarks to orient herself amid the destruction. "It was like war in a barren land. Once there was a zinc roof there, it's gone. There is no zinc roof or board house that survived this storm," she said. Directly across the street from the Perry home, a brother and a sister sat in the remnants of what used to be their home. "I was born inside this room. It is a family house," Chantilly Kerr said of the separated 2-bedroom which she shared with her brother. Both of them were also frantically trying to put a roof back on the structure, now leaning to the side. "I wasn't coming to see anything at all. I thought it would be flat," Chantilly admitted. Fearing the strength of Hurricane Melissa, she had evacuated the board structure, but her brother Sean stayed. When the hurricane took the roof, he ran to a car parked in the yard. "I stepped in that car. I had to run out of the place. I don't know what to tell you right now. Me am mad out," he said. Sean explained that after he ran to the car and got in, the bonnet flipped open because of the wind cracking the windscreen. "It was a fight, man. It was a fight. Hours in a man. It beat me up, man. It beat us. It beat us. But we give thanks. No life lost," said Perry. At press time, residents were still trying to access Hollanda Bamboo, Black River, and other areas furthest west. Though they were impeded by concrete utility poles and downed trees, they refused to abandon the journey. Guys, thank you for watching. See you this evening at 6 p.m. for another news update.